Good evening and welcome to our program. This series is focusing on This Is Your FBI. This Is Your FBI was a radio crime drama which aired in the United States on ABC from April 6, 1945 to January 30th, 1953 for a total of 409 shows. The show featured true cases from the FBI and was told from an FBI agent's viewpoint. FBI Chief J. Edgar Hoover gave it his endorsement, calling it our show and calling it the finest dramatic program on the air. Generally, I do not include advisories. Given Hoover's polarizing nature, I will share this. Dramatized stories created for propaganda purposes are not history. They tell one biased side of the story, and in no way am I saying that these are reliable stories. I just believe them to be interesting when viewed through the scope of entertainment and weird history. Finally, I'd like to send a specific thank you to publicdomainreview.org and archive.org for organizing and compiling all this.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society presents This Is Your FBI. This is Your FBI, the official broadcast from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Presented as a public service by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society representative in your community. The Equitable Life Assurance Society is a great mutual institution organized to serve Americans and America. Therefore, one of the Equitable Society's major objectives is to make all possible contributions to the welfare and stability of American business, on which so many of the Equitable Society's nearly 4 million members depend for their livelihood. Tonight's middle commercial is addressed to the man who owns his own business. For such an owner, this commercial, due in about 14 minutes, will have information of great importance from the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. Tonight's FBI file, The Man Who Died Twice.
During the recent World War, the United States put into uniform some 11 million citizens and sent them to every corner of the globe to help fight a shooting war. They fought battles in far-off places with strange-sounding names. Places like Salerno, Anzio, Saint-Nazaire, Bastogne, and Aachen on one side of the world, and Yunnan, Corregidor, Tulagi, and Finschhafen on the other side. They fought those battles and they won them, but they won them dearly. Now it is 3 long years since the shooting has stopped. And in the streets of America, we are enjoying what the historians will refer to as peace. Yet, let us examine that peace. In these next 4 years, should the present average hold up, the number of people killed in the United States will be 18% of the number who died during the entire war. Unless some form of prevention is practiced, more than 30,000 people will be killed by American criminals by November 1953. For that reason, your FBI implores you to fight the crime wave with the same zeal, with the same desire to win with which we fought the common enemy during the war. Because only by expending that effort can we hope to win, can we hope to defeat the criminal. Tonight's file opens on the front porch of a small, unpretentious home located in a large western city. It is late afternoon, and a middle-aged man fumbles with his keys before unlocking the front door and entering.
Is that you, Harvey?
Oh, yes, Marion.
Well, come home, didn't you?
Oh, thank you.
How was the trip?
Marion, please, let me hang up my hat and coat first before you ask any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear.
There's some hangers missing from this closet, Marion.
Oh, I used them while you were away.
I wish you wouldn't do that. You have as many hangers in your closet as I have in mine.
Do you need them right now?
Well, that's not the point. Everything should be kept in its proper place.
I know. Can I help you unpack, Harvey?
Oh, it may not be necessary for me to unpack.
What do you mean?
We may have to put the new enterprise on the shelf and move along.
What happened?
Oh, this morning as I was walking to my plane at LaGuardia Airport, a man saw me.
Who was it?
He was a man who knows my background. He was a prosecution witness in the trial in New Orleans.
You sure he recognized you?
He saw me every day for 2 weeks at the trial.
He might have forgotten.
I can't afford to take the chance. The Chinese have a proverb, a rash man provokes trouble. In this business, caution must govern my every move. Tell me, what have we for dinner tonight?
Oh, you.
Are there any steaks in the icebox?
Yes.
Good. Start preparing 3 of them.
3?
That's right. We're going to have a guest. Get out the good silver.
Who's the guest?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Huh?
I'm going out now and find one.
Meanwhile, at the local FBI field office, Special Agent Jim Taylor approaches the desk of fellow agent Lou Sheridan.
Lou?
Yes, Jim?
I've got a Ripley for you. You ever heard of an FBI file being reopened?
Why, sure. If the prisoner escaped...
No, wait a minute. I mean after the word closed is stamped on it with the notation that the subject was dead.
Oh, what's the point of reopening the file on a dead man?
Well, I wondered about that myself when the SAC gave it to me.
Well, good luck on it.
Oh, hold on, Guy. This is your baby, too.
Oh.
SAC wants you to work on it with me.
Have you read the file yet?
Yeah, just finished it.
What's the story?
Last year, a firm called Ralph Dullwood Incorporated was formed in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Dullwood was allegedly a chemist who had a formula for converting seawater into water that could be used for irrigation.
Oh, I've read about that process.
Oh, sure, it can be done. But not with aspirin pills, which is what Dullwood was using.
Oh, I see.
Well, creditors started to close in, so Dullwood had a fire and went bankrupt. He then became a federal fugitive.
Is that how we got in on the case?
Well, we were in this in a number of ways. There was fraudulent bankruptcy, and Dullwood had also used the mails to defraud by selling stock to people all over the country.
Well, what happened to him?
He was found guilty and sentenced to a 10-year term. A month after he entered prison, though, he escaped.
Then how does the file happen to be marked dead?
Well, 3 months ago, a car went over a cliff in the Smoky Mountains. The man who was driving was burned beyond all recognition. According to papers found in a briefcase, which was found thrown clear of the wreck, the driver was Ralph Dullwood.
Oh.
File was marked closed, put away.
How come it's being reopened?
Because a state examiner from Louisiana saw Dullwood at LaGuardia Airport yesterday.
Is he sure?
Yes, he saw Dullwood in court every day during the trial. He says he's positive that's who it was.
Well, how come this office got the case instead of New York?
Well, the plane Dullwood was seen heading for was a non-stop express from New York to here.
I assume an alarm is going out on Dullwood?
Yes,
How about the newspapers? Have we given them a story?
No, not yet. Lou, why don't you do that?
Okay.
I'll go down to police headquarters now and see if anything's come in.
Marion,
Oh, yes, Albert.
I think our guest might like a little more wine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me have your glass, please.
Yes, ma'am. Here you are.
How about some more steak?
Oh, no. I'm real full.
A cigar, perhaps?
That I'll take. Thanks, mister.
Oh, you're welcome.
This has really been a treat. Every bit of it. Who'd have thought this morning that I'd have wound up a day like this?
I suppose it was unexpected.
That's putting it mildly. Just imagine how you'd feel if you're walking down the street and all of a sudden a man came along, took you home and gave you all this.
Well, you make it sound much more magnanimous than you should, Mr. Littlefield. I just happen to be in a position to help my fellow man, and I'm doing it. How would you like a job?
Oh, now, look, you don't have to feel...
Mr. Littlefield, you can't make very much at your trade of going from door to door sharpening knives, can you?
No.
Then you should accept my offer.
Well,
I don't want you to get any idea that this is charity. I need a night watchman at my laboratory.
Is that true, Mr. Littlefield?
Hmm?
Well, I can't tell you how much it would mean to me. But are you sure I'm the man for the job, sir?
I know you are. Marion, I think I'll take a walk down to the laboratory with Mr. Littlefield right now. and show him around.
Jim, anything new on the Bellwood alarm?
Yes, Lou. I just received a teletype report from New York. Knoxville is the closest office we have to the place in the Smokies where that accident occurred, which ostensibly took Bellwood's life.
Uh-huh.
So they requested the Knoxville office to reinvestigate the accident. Try and find out who really died in that crash.
Well, that's not an easy assignment 3 months afterward.
They found that out.
Who owned the car that crashed?
An automobile rental agency in Knoxville. The car had been rented by Ralph Bellwood. A check of signatures proved that it was really Bellwood who signed for the car.
I see.
But that still didn't give Knoxville any lead on who the dead man was, and there seemed to be no way of finding out.
Well, as I remember, you said the body in the car was burned when it crashed.
That's right. It was burned so badly that no investigation was possible from that angle.
And still they got some kind of a lead?
Yes, one of the agents working on the case got the idea of checking on the missing persons list for a 2-week period before and after the day of the accident. He investigated every male name on that list. Found that only 6 of the people were still missing. No further lead was available, however, on any of those 6. So the Knoxville office wired the New York office the names of those 6 people.
Why New York?
Well, so that New York could check the flight records of all planes leaving LaGuardia Airport on the day that the state examiner saw Bellwood there.
Oh, that's all right.
It sure was. One of the flights carried a passenger with the same name as one of the 6 missing people from Knoxville.
Oh, then Bellwood must have murdered that man, put his body into the rented car, and assumed the dead man's name.
It would certainly appear that way. Oh, Bellwood is now using the name Harvey Ambridge.
Ambridge?
That's right. Now let's check and see if we can find out about Mr. Ambridge.
I'm not quite ready yet, Marion. Come in and give me a hand.
I smell gasoline.
Well, you should. I've just painted the laboratory walls with it.
Oh?
Well, watch your step, dear. Part of the lobby floor is painted with gasoline, too.
Oh, my, those fumes are strong.
That laboratory is a big room.
Do we have to stay in here very long?
No, a few more swabs with this brush.
What are you painting the gasoline out here for?
I'm just painting a pathway. When I'm finished, I put a match to the end of this path, and the fire will follow it right under that door and into the lab.
Oh.
There. That ought to do it. Yes, hold this flashlight while I strike the match. We can leave now. Marion, are you sure you know what you're supposed to do?
Yes. I called the fire department.
That's right. But wait for the flames to get a little higher. I'll meet you at home. By the time the fire department gets here, all they'll find in the lab is my body.
Your body?
I should say, Littlefield's body.
Littlefield?
The old man who was at the house for dinner tonight.
Oh, but Harvey, you can't burn a man alive.
Marion, he's been dead for an hour.
We will return to tonight's exciting case from the official files of your FBI in just a minute. Now a brief case from the official files of the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States, showing how Equitable Business Insurance helps stabilize our American economic system. Names used are fictitious, but the case is an actual one. Here was the problem that confronted Mr. Joseph Goodwin, owner of a small but successful department store. Mr. Goodwin himself is speaking.
Frankly, my wife is no businesswoman. If I should get run down by an automobile tomorrow, she'd be lost trying to run this store. Besides, I want her to give full time to bringing up those kids about.
Well, that means that you'd want her to sell the business.
Right, but I don't want her to sacrifice it to the first buyer that comes along. I want her to take her time and get a good price.
Mr. Goodwin, every day, trained representatives of the Equitable Society are helping solve problems that are closely similar to yours.
I'd be interested in a plan that would really work.
Well, the Equitable Society specialist in business insurance would figure with you how much cash would be needed to meet the expenses and debts your death will call you. Then he'd have you estimate how much additional money would be required to keep your business running until the right buyer might come along. The whole sum would be covered by a business insurance policy on your life with the Equitable Life Assurance Society, so that your wife will inherit a sure asset instead of a doubtful liability.
Mr. Keating, I think I'd better call in an Equitable man right away.
It's a step you'll never regret. The Equitable Society specialist in business insurance is fully qualified to work out a plan that's sound in every detail and tailor-made to fit your business. Call the nearest Equitable office and ask for the manager. Or write a brief note, care of this radio station, to the Equitable Society.
That's EQUITABLE.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. And now back to the FBI file, The Man Who Died Twice.
It is a tragic fact that of all the people arrested in the United States, and this is true every year, approximately 50% are being arrested for the first time. They have committed some infraction of the law and thought they could get away without paying any penalty. Being arrested and convicted should serve as an ample lesson, but the even more tragic fact is that it doesn't. For approximately half, the other half, have been arrested before and should have learned that there is no profit side to the ledger when your business is crime. Few people who commit their first crime decide to engage in a life of breaking the law. But, as you have seen very amply illustrated in tonight's case from the files of your FBI, and as case after case similarly proves, the commission of one crime leads to another, and then another, until ultimately the criminal commits the cardinal crime, murder. Tonight's file continues at the local FBI field office.
Lou, I don't understand not being able to get any kind of a lead on Enbridge.
Neither do I, Jim.
The police have checked every hotel and boarding house in town. I've checked the milk companies, the phone company, and all other utilities. Why, they don't even have an Enbridge listed under their applicants, let alone their customers. Oh, excuse me. Sure. Special Agent Taylor speaking. Yes. Yes, Chief. What? Where did you say that was? Okay. Yes. Yes, we'll be right over. Thanks for calling, Chief. I was Chief Thompson over at the Forest City Fire Department.
Forest City? Why did he call here?
Because there was a fire at a chemical company over in Forest City in which a scientist named Harvey Enbridge was killed.
What?
Yes, come on, let's get over there. Oh, I just finished talking to Chief Thompson. He said Mrs. Enbridge called in to report the fire. Said that her husband was trapped inside this building.
When was that?
About 1:15 this morning. Fortunately, though, somebody else called in to report the fire before she did. That's how they happened to get here before it did too much damage.
I see.
Thompson said it was all right for us to go into the lab.
Oh, good. I'd like to see the place.
Well, come on. There's not much evidence of a fire out here, is there?
I guess they caught it pretty early at that. Well, go ahead, Jim.
Thanks. Wait a minute, Lou.
Huh?
Look. Look here, right inside the door. See this fan-shaped mark on the floor?
Uh-huh.
That shows that the flames were ignited from the outside and spread in under the closed door.
Jim, I think this place is going to take quite a bit of inspection.
I do, too. Well, you take that side of the room, huh? I'll take this one.
Okay.
You know, I suppose we ought to check these test tubes for fingerprints.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Here, take a look in this locker.
What is it, Lou?
I'd say that was quite a bloodstain, wouldn't you?
Yes, I sure would.
But didn't Chief Thompson say the body was found over on the other side of the lab?
That's right, Lou, he did.
Well, if Enbridge had lost this much blood, he could never have gotten over to the other side.
No. Besides that, the bloodstain is discolored. Look, you can see that it's been brightened by the explosion.
Yeah.
That means this bloodstain was in this closet before the explosion. Lou, it's pretty obvious now. Enbridge has committed another murder.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, but we have to find out who the victim was, and I doubt that's going to be easy. Lou, why don't you stick around here and see what else you can pick up?
Okay.
I'll go down to the morgue and take a look at that body.
Harvey, you really need all of those shoe trees?
Yes, Marion. I have 7 pairs of shoes, so I need 7 pairs of shoe trees. That's perfectly simple, isn't it?
I guess so. Harvey?
Yes?
Can we go out to dinner tonight?
Oh, no.
Oh, I would like to eat out.
Well, you can wait till we get to Boston. Meantime, we're staying in the house, not even answering the doorbell. Don't you remember? We don't want anyone to see us.
I'm sorry, Harvey. I forgot.
We can't afford to allow ourselves the luxury of forgetting, even for a minute, Marion. There's an old and very true Italian proverb. Forgetfulness robs the right hand of its cunning. We're in a wonderful position if we just keep our heads about us. I've told you many times, restlessness is a fine quality, but it must constantly be tempered with caution.
I remember.
And when in doubt, be overcautious.
I will be. Have you made up your mind when we're going to leave?
Oh, yes, I telephoned the airport this afternoon. We've got reservations for later on tonight.
I hope we get away with this.
Marion, if that man at LaGuardia Airport did recognize me, and even if the police did find out that I didn't die in that automobile crash in Tennessee, they still have to think I died the night before last at the lab.
Hello, I think I've got something.
I hope so, Jim.
Fortunately, they hadn't done any post-mortem work on the body before I got down to the morgue.
What did you find out?
Well, from his appearance, the dead man was about, 65 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been killed by being struck on the head with a very blunt-edged weapon.
I see.
Incidentally, Ambridge wasn't even careful enough to substitute his clothes for the victim's.
Well, did the clothes give you any lead on the old man's identity?
No, they were old and patched, had no labels on them. But they definitely belonged to somebody who was down and out. I sent them to the lab.
Get anything?
Yes, they said the dirt in the cuffs of the pants contained a large amount of emery dust.
Emery dust?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they use that in a lot of jobs, Jim.
Yeah, I know they do. But when the lab found that the old man's jacket was worn on top of the right shoulder, they figured that he probably carried something up there.
Could they tell what it was?
Well, did you ever see an itinerant knife sharpener who carries his portable emery wheel strapped over his shoulder?
Why, sure. Well, that has to be it, Jim.
That was their hunch, and it paid off.
How?
Well, I remembered that those itinerant peddlers have to supply a picture of themselves to the police department when they get their license.
That's right, they do.
So I went down to headquarters, went through their files, and found a picture of the old man. His name was Tom Littlefield.
Well, I'd say that's a good day's work.
And we did something else, too. When we couldn't find Ambridge's address from anyone, I remembered one report said that he had a car, a Buick.
Uh-huh.
Well, there wasn't any registration at the Motor Vehicle Bureau in Ambridge's name, so we just started checking Buick service stations throughout the city.
Any luck?
Yes. One of them had repaired Ambridge's car and gave me his home address.
Good.
Lou, I've got a search warrant here now. Let's go to his home and see if we can find anything. Hello?
Over here, Jim.
Oh. I've just searched every room in the house.
No trace of Ambridge?
No, none.
Oh, hey, what's that you have there?
Portable emery wheel.
Where'd you find that?
In a closet in there. I don't think we need any further proof that old man Littlefield was here.
No.
You find anything in the garage?
Oh, Ambridge left his car here. It has out-of-state license plates on it.
Oh, that's why we couldn't find Ambridge's name in the Motor Vehicle Bureau.
Yeah. Jim, in spite of the fact that Ambridge had disappeared, I don't think there'll be much trouble getting a conviction against him for murder.
I'd just as soon he weren't convicted in absentia, though. I'd like to see him when he hears the judge impose sentence.
Yeah, it's tough to come this close to catching a criminal like Bellwood, or Ambridge, or whatever he's calling himself now.
Lou. Lou, you've just given me an idea. Come on, let's get to a phone.
Flight 24 departing for Chicago in 5 minutes. Flight 24.
What time does our plane leave, Harvey?
Marion, I've told you 3 times now. We leave at 9:30.
That's only 10 minutes from now.
I know that, dear. I learned to tell time quite a while ago.
But they haven't even called our plane over the loudspeaker.
They will, dear.
Why don't you go up to the counter and ask them if anything's the matter?
Because I don't like to try to run anybody else's business.
Flight 96 for New York and Boston departing in 10 minutes. Have your gate passes ready, please.
You see, dear?
Let's get on the plane.
Oh, take your time, Mary. Never run, especially when you're running away from something. That's the time you want to look least conspicuous.
Sorry.
Remember what we said about caution?
Yes.
Then use a little of it. There's an old Dutch proverb. Who runs is followed.
Mr. Bellwood?
Yes?
I don't think you two are going to catch that plane for Boston.
What?
Who are you, sir?
I'm a special agent of the FBI. I have a warrant here, and the police want you for murder.
Oh, there must be some mistake. My name is Tom Littlefield. Oh, and this is my wife.
How do you
It won't
do?
work, Bellwood. You've changed your name for the last time. Now, come on. They're waiting for us at headquarters.
Ralph Bellwood, alias Harvey Ambridge, and his wife Marion were turned over to local police because of the more serious charge of murder. Ambridge was found guilty and sentenced to be executed. His wife was sentenced to life imprisonment. The final clue which led to the solution of tonight's case was the use by Ralph Bellwood of the pseudonym Tom Littlefield. Special Agent Taylor, remembering that he had once before assumed the name of his victim, checked all transportation depots and found that a Mr. and Mrs. Tom Littlefield had a reservation on the plane to Boston. Working side by side with Special Agents Taylor and Sheridan on tonight's case, as it works with every special agent on every case, was the FBI Crime Laboratory. Started in 1932 by Director J. Edgar Hoover, with one man and one microscope, that laboratory celebrates its 16th anniversary this coming week. The varied functions of the hard-working technicians who man the laboratory staff include blood examinations, firearms identification, cryptanalysis, spectrography, special photography, and microchemical examination. These men, who have enlisted the aid of science in the field of crime detection, have provided a solution to a tremendous number of cases. And for that reason, we feel it is proper to take the time on this, the eve of their 16th anniversary, to thank the men of the FBI Crime Laboratory for a job well done.
In just a moment, we will tell you about next week's exciting case from the files of your FBI. Now, one last word about business insurance. The reason why the Equitable Society emphasizes this type of insurance is very simple. The brains and experience responsible for the success of a business enterprise have a cash value and should therefore be protected by insurance like any other valuable asset. Equitable Society representatives have worked out plans for all types of business, from progressive corner stores and successful law partnerships to large organizations with thousands on their payrolls. Plan now to enlist the invaluable help that is yours for the asking from a trained business insurance specialist of the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States.
Next week, we will dramatize another case from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A timely and exciting story about our peacetime draft. Its subject, fraud. Its title, The Unwilling Draft Dodger.
The incidents used in tonight's Equitable Life Assurance Society's broadcast are adapted from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, all names used are fictitious, and any similarity thereof to the names of persons living or dead is accidental. Tonight, the music was composed and conducted by Frederick Steiner. The author was Jerry D. Lewis. Your narrator was William Woodson, and Special Agent Taylor was played by Stacey Harris. This Is Your FBI is a Jerry Devine production. This is Larry Keating speaking for the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community, and inviting you to tune in again next week at the same time when the Equitable Life Assurance Society will bring you another thrilling story from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, The Unwilling Draft Dodger, on This Is Your FBI.
This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society presents This Is Your FBI. This is Your FBI, the official broadcast from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Presented as a public service by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community. The Equitable Life Assurance Society is a great mutual institution organized to serve Americans and America. Therefore, one of the Equitable Society's major objectives is to make all possible contributions to the welfare and stability of American business, on which so many of the Equitable Society's 4 million members depend for their livelihood. Tonight's middle commercial is addressed to the man who owns his own business. For such an owner, this commercial, due in about 14 minutes, will have information of great importance from the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. Tonight's FBI file, The Unwilling Draft Dodger.
There's a well-known method used by psychiatrists and psychologists for probing the inner recesses of the human mind, called the word association test. In application, the examiner mentions a word, and you answer quickly with the first word that comes to your mind. When the word color is given, the answer in most cases is red. When the word number is mentioned, the majority answer 7. And when the key word used is crime, the answer is usually gun. But there are many crimes committed every day in the United States in which no gun is involved. One of these crimes, and this is probably the most heinous crime that can be committed, is perpetrated by those parents who not only fail to instill in their children a respect for law and order, but who, on the contrary, teach them that laws were made to apply to everyone else, but not to them. That child may become a juvenile delinquent, and if by some chance he escapes that fate, then he is certain to grow up and become an adult delinquent, a person who tries to contribute less to society than he takes from it. Adult delinquent is a pleasant substitute for the harsher word which better describes the future career of any child so taught. That word, criminal. Tonight's file opens in a building located in the downtown district of a large eastern city. In a richly furnished private office in this building, one Charles Berwick is seated at his desk. He is greeted by his son, Peter, who has just entered the room.
Hello, Dad.
Hello, son. Have a chair.
Uh-oh. This is going to be serious.
Why do you say that?
Because I can always tell. Whenever you say, have a chair, it's trouble.
You're very observant, son. That's a good trait in a boy. I like it.
Thank you, Father. Now, what have I done?
Well, this has nothing to do with your conduct. I had you meet me here in the office because I wanted to have a man-to-man talk with you.
All right, sir.
You're 19 years old now, Peter. And since the day you were born, I've carefully supervised every step you've taken.
Yes, sir.
Since you've been old enough to walk, I've been grooming you to come into the business with me. And ultimately, of course, to have you take my place as head of the firm.
Oh, I'll do the best I can, sir.
Peter, I want you to come into the business immediately.
But, Father,
I know you're going to tell me that you have to serve 2 years in the Army.
That's right. I report in 2 weeks for my physical.
Peter, I'd like to ask a favor of you.
What, Dad?
I don't want you to go into the Army.
But, Dad, I don't have much to say about that.
Son, I've never let circumstances govern my life before, and I'm not going to start now. I've heard of a way to fix things so you won't have to go.
Huh?
I'm checking into it immediately. Dr. Fairfield?
That's right.
I'm Mr. Berwick.
Oh, please come in.
Thank you.
You'll have to excuse the appearance of my office, Mr. Berwick. I've just
Doctor, I'd like to get right to the point of my visit. I've thought about our telephone conversation, and I've decided to place my son, Peter, in your care.
That's fine. I think you've made a very wise decision.
You absolutely guarantee, of course, that Peter will not be able to pass the physical examination when the Army doctors go over him.
Absolutely, sir. These pills I prescribe will do the job perfectly. I'll write you out a prescription which you can get filled at any drugstore.
Taking this stuff won't harm Peter in any way, will it?
You have my word as a doctor that it won't.
Are there any other instructions?
No, Mr. Berwick. That's all there is to it.
Excellent.
By the way, you did remember to bring my fee in cash.
Oh, yes. I have it right here.
Yes, that's fine. Now, while you're counting it out, I'll write the prescription, and Peter can be on his way to ill health in the morning.
Meanwhile, at the local FBI field office, Special Agent Jim Taylor meets Agent Andy Wilson in the teletype room.
Andy?
Yes?
Andy, have you finished sending that information to Salt Lake City yet?
Oh, yes, Jim. I was finishing just as you came in.
Oh, fine. Let's walk back to my desk, huh? The SAC just assigned us to work together on a new case.
All right. What kind of case is it?
Conspiracy to violate the Selective Service Act.
I didn't know we were starting to get them again. What's the story on this one?
Well, we're looking for a man named Donald Fairfield. He poses as an ex-Army doctor who can help keep wealthy boys from being drafted.
Have we got anything on Fairfield?
Yes, he was convicted in 1942 on the same charge. He's just been released from Leavenworth.
Well, how come this office is in on the case?
Because Fairfield went into Chicago when he got out of prison, tried to sell some more pills to some well-to-do families there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the families complained to the police. Fairfield got wind of the complaint and skipped town before they could make the arrest.
I see.
A check at the airport out there showed that Fairfield had bought a ticket to come here.
How long ago was that?
About a week ago.
In other words, long enough for him to have gone into action again.
That's right, Andy. So if we want to catch Fairfield before he gets a chance to close any more deals, we've got to work fast.
More coffee, Joan?
No, thanks, Peter. I would like to dance, though.
Oh, well, let's sit this one out, huh? Do you mind?
What's the matter with you?
What do you mean?
You're worrying about something.
Well, I am, but it's not very important.
Peter, if we're going to be happy together after we're married, we've got to learn to be honest with each other.
Oh, we will be happy, Joan.
Not if we keep secrets from each other.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. I got a card this morning telling me to report in 2 weeks for my Army physical exam.
Is that what's bothering you?
Well, that's not...
You said last week you didn't mind going in.
Oh, I don't. It's... Well, my father doesn't want me to go.
Oh, Peter, when will you grow up?
Oh, Joan.
When will you do something without your father, on your own?
But he doesn't approve.
He's never approved of anything for you that conflicted with his own selfish interests. All through school, he didn't approve of your playing football. He didn't approve of most of your friends. He doesn't approve of me.
But my going into the Army is different.
Well, you're darn right it is. For once in his life, he's run into something that he can't do anything about.
Joan, he can.
Huh?
He has.
What are you talking about?
The thing that's really bothering me. You see, Father has made arrangements with a doctor to help me flunk my Army physical.
Peter.
It's up to me to decide whether I want to go through with it or not.
Nobody can make anybody do what he doesn't want to do.
Oh, but
You're a grown man now, Peter, and you've got to decide now to live your own life or to let your father live it for you. Either you stand up to him now or we're through.
Anything come in overnight on the Fairfield alarm, Jim?
Not a thing, Andy.
Say, how did he contact his potential victim in Chicago?
I don't know. Probably he's like most other confidence men, though. I guess he uses a sucker list.
Where would you go if you wanted to buy a list of wealthy families with sons of draft age? It's a pretty specialized list.
I wouldn't know. But I've seen those lists when they were even more specialized than that. Andy, I saw one once that had the names of elderly, divorced men who had once invested in musical comedy. Excuse me, Andy.
Sure.
Special Agent Taylor speaking. Yes, sir. Yes, that's right. He did. Tell me, did he have any trunks? I see. Well, thanks for calling. Yes, we'll be right up. Well, we know now that Fairfield was in town anyway.
Why? Who was that?
Manager of the Hotel Central. He got a copy of our flyer on Fairfield. Fairfield checked in to the Central the night he arrived here in town.
How long was he there?
Just overnight. He left no forwarding address. Didn't ship any trunks from the hotel, so they have no idea where he went.
So near and yet so far.
Well, the manager said he still had the phone slips for the day that Fairfield was there. He'd be glad to make them available to us.
Good.
Andy, let's go up there, see what we can find.
Dr. Fairfield?
Yes?
I'm Peter Berwick.
Oh, yes. I've been expecting you. Come in, please.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
Doctor, I'd like to talk to you.
All right, son.
I've been thinking this whole thing over since my father told me about it. I've decided I don't want to take those pills.
Oh. Why not?
Because I want to serve my 2 years in the Army.
Your father will be very disappointed when he hears your decision.
Yeah, I know.
He'll have to pay me anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what. You charge him, and I just won't take the pills.
All right.
Oh, that's a relief. I was sure you'd be angry.
Why?
Well, didn't you and Father agree on a bonus if I was rejected?
That's right.
Well, now you won't get it.
I'll get more than that.
Huh?
You see, that money from your father was really only a down payment.
I don't understand.
I have a recording machine in this office. It automatically records all conversations I have here. Thanks to that machine, I have a record in my files of everything that was said by your father when we met yesterday.
Oh.
Your father can go to jail if I turn that record over to the authorities.
But, Doctor, you can't do that.
Yes, I can. But I'm sure your father wouldn't want me to. In fact, I'm so sure that I'm going to call him and offer to sell him the record for $25,000.
We will return to tonight's exciting case from the official files of your FBI in just a minute. Now, a brief case from the official files of the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States, showing how Equitable Business Insurance helps stabilize our American economic system. Names used are fictitious, but the case is an actual one. Some months ago, here was the situation which confronted Mr. Warner Walker, owner of a prosperous automobile agency in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Mr. Walker himself is speaking.
Yes, ever since the war, we've been selling cars as fast as we can get them. I certainly have no complaints the way my business is going.
Well, let me ask you this. What would happen if your business got wiped out by fire?
Why, I carry fire insurance, of course. Plenty of it.
In other words, fire couldn't wipe out your business, but your death could, since you're the sole owner. Actually, at your age, you look about 40, the hazard your business faces from your death is 13 times greater than the hazard of fire. Is your business insured against that much greater risk?
No, it isn't. I've never thought of it before.
You see, if you die without a will, the law will force your executor to liquidate your business at a big loss if necessary. And even if you do leave a will, the need to raise cash to settle your estate might force a liquidation anyway. That's why I suggest that you see an Equitable Society business insurance specialist right away.
Well, what would his solution be?
Enough business insurance to reimburse your family for the depreciation in the value of your business due to the loss of its biggest asset, you. In other words, enough cash to eliminate any need for a forced liquidation. So why not talk it over with a business insurance specialist from the Equitable Society? He's fully qualified by experience and training to work out a plan that's sound in every detail and tailor-made for your business. Call the nearest Equitable office and ask for the manager. Or write a brief note, care of this station, to the Equitable Society.
That's EQUITABLE.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. And now back to the FBI file, The Unwilling Draft Dodger.
In connection with tonight's case from the files of your FBI, we bring you a message from Mr. J. Edgar Hoover, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Addressing you, the listeners of this program, Mr. Hoover says, and I quote, "When the President, on September 16, 1940, signed the Selective Training and Service Act, a tremendous task was placed on the shoulders of the FBI. We were able to discharge our obligations under this law only through the untiring efforts and unselfish devotion to duty on the part of the thousands of America's peace officers. Their splendid cooperation was symbolic of the united effort which made victory possible. The President, on June 24, 1948, approved a new Selective Service Act, and the FBI has again been charged with the responsibility to investigate violations. We undertake this new task with a deep sense of public responsibility and with the hope that the ends of justice will be properly served. Tonight's case continues in a local FBI field office.
Jim, I checked every one of those numbers Fairfield called while he was at the Hotel Central.
Oh, good, eh?
They're all real estate firms, all 7 of them.
I imagine it's too late now for any of them to be open, huh?
It is. I tried them. None of the phones answered.
No.
Anything come in on the alarm?
No, but we have a trifle more to work with now. I called Fairfield's prospective victim in Chicago a little while ago.
Could he give you anything else?
Well, nothing direct, but he did tell me what Fairfield charges.
That must be an interesting number.
Yes, it is. It's $7,500, and he demands 1/3 of it in cash when he delivers the prescription.
It's a lot of cash, Jim.
Yeah, Andy, I was thinking about that. I think I may have a way of finding Fairfield's customers.
How?
Well, very few legitimate people keep $2,500 in cash anywhere but in a bank.
That's right.
So tomorrow morning, will you check those real estate brokers? See if Fairfield has rented anything through them?
Sure.
I'm going to check the banks and try and interview anybody who's withdrawn $2,500 in cash.
Mr. Taylor?
That's right.
I'm Mr. Berwick. You wanted to see me?
Yes, sir. I'm a special agent of the FBI.
I know. My secretary told me.
Here are my credentials.
I see. What can I do for you?
Well, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Mr. Berwick, do you have any children?
Yes, I have a fine boy. His name is Peter.
How old is he?
19, last month.
I see.
I'm sure Peter hasn't done anything that could possibly warrant you.
No, sir. I didn't come here to talk to you about that. In checking at your bank, Mr. Berwick, I learned that you withdrew $2,500 in cash this week.
If you don't mind my saying so, I think it's rather presumptuous of you to go through my bank account without my knowledge.
Well, the bank was merely complying with subpoena to furnish us with a list of names of people who had made withdrawals of $2,500 or more in cash during this past week. We have made no other investigation into your bank account, sir.
I see.
Now, Mr. Berwick, would you mind telling me why you withdrew that amount in cash?
Not at all. I play in a rather large table stakes poker game every week, and we play for cash. Does that clear the matter up for you?
Oh, I believe so, yes.
Is that all the information you wanted?
That's all.
Well, if there's ever anything else you want to know, don't hesitate to call on me.
We won't, Mr. Berwick.
Joan, over here.
Have you been waiting long?
No, hop in.
I got here as soon as I could.
Joan, I'm in terrible trouble.
With the doctor?
Yeah.
What happened?
I went there. Told him I didn't want to go through with it. It doesn't make any difference to him.
Why not?
Because he's going to blackmail my father.
What?
He's got a recording of the conversation Father had with him.
Oh.
If he turns it over to the police, well, a thing like this can ruin him.
Not if your father goes to the police first and tells them everything.
He'd never do that.
Maybe the doctor was only trying to scare you. Maybe he really doesn't have that record.
I'm convinced that he has. Joan, there's only one thing to do.
What?
Pay another call on Dr. Fairfield. With a gun.
Jim, I may have the break we've been looking for.
Good work, Andy.
I checked every one of those real estate offices that Fairfield called, and they all remembered his calls.
Any of them rent him an apartment or a house?
6 of the 7 said no.
How about the last one?
Well, that's the Jack Hupp Company, Jim, and they told me that the salesman who handled the Fairfield call was out showing a house. They have him call here.
Good.
Did you get anything?
Yes, I checked with all the banks. I learned that 3 men had made a single withdrawal of $2,500 one time this week. I saw all 3 of them.
What did you get?
2 blanks, but the third man, a Mr. Charles Berwick, said he had made a withdrawal to play poker with. Well, it could have been true, but somehow I felt he was worthy of further investigation.
So?
Well, they told me he had a 19-year-old son. So I looked into Mr. Berwick's background, including who his doctor was, where he had his prescriptions filled.
Prescriptions?
Oh, yes, that's the Most important part of Fairfield's racket, the prescription he gives, don't you remember?
Oh, sure.
Well, I went to every drugstore in Berwick's neighborhood. I learned that he brought a prescription into a pharmacy at 11th and Oak yesterday afternoon.
Who was the doctor?
Well, the signature was quite illegible, but I believe it could very easily have been Dr. Fairfield.
Did you confront Berwick with this evidence?
Not yet. I came right back to the office with the prescription. I had it sent to the lab to see what they could get on the signature and the ingredients prescribed. I'll get it, Andy. Special Agent Taylor speaking. Yes, just a moment, Andy. See you.
Oh, thanks, Jim. Hello? Yes? You did? Fine. Uh-huh. Right. Thanks very much for calling. Bye. Well, number 7 was a lucky number, Jim.
No?
That was the salesman from the 7th real estate office Fairfield called. He rented Fairfield an apartment at 21 Jackson Avenue.
Good work, Andy. Let's get over there.
Hello, Dr. Fairfield.
Oh, it's you. Oh, come in.
Thank you.
Well, have you changed your mind about going into the Army?
No. I came back here to ask you not to blackmail my father.
My dear boy, that's a large favor.
I want you to give me that recording you made the day my father came here.
I'm sorry, son. That would be impossible.
If you won't give it to me, I'll have to take it.
Now, look. Put away that gun.
Not until you give me the record.
It's not here. It's in a vault.
I don't believe you. Open that filing cabinet.
Put on that gun.
Huh? All right, Jim. I've got it.
Now, look,
Fairfield, you're under arrest. Andy, throw the cuffs on.
Right, Jim.
Just who are you, and how did you get in
We're
here?
special agents of the FBI. We were let in here by the superintendent after we showed him the warrant for your arrest.
You're arresting him?
That's right. What's your name, young man?
Peter Berwick.
Are you the son of Mr. Charles Berwick?
Yes, sir.
Then you'd better come along with us.
Mr. Taylor?
That's right.
My name is Joan Parma.
Miss Palmer.
I went to the police station to tell them about a Dr. Fairfield, and they sent me up here to see you.
Do you know Fairfield?
No, sir. But the man at the police station told me that you arrested the doctor and a boy named Peter Berwick.
Yes, that's right.
Where is Peter?
Special Agent Wilson is interviewing him in the next room.
He's innocent, Mr. Taylor.
How do you know?
He told me all about Dr. Fairfield.
Oh, exactly what did he tell you?
That he didn't want to take the pills, but the doctor had a recording that he wanted to use to blackmail Peter's father.
In the first place, Miss Palmer, let's refer to Fairfield as Mr. He's no more a doctor than I am.
I see.
In the second place, Peter Berwick has told me all about the recording, and if it does exist, then it will merely serve to prove what we already know, that his father went to Fairfield so that he could evade military service.
But he never agreed to take the pills. He only went up to the office to get...
Yes,
Peter.
He hasn't changed the story, Jim.
No.
I'm going out to the front desk. It seems we have another visitor.
Okay, Andy.
Peter, I've been trying to tell Mr. Taylor that you're innocent, but he doesn't seem to believe me.
Oh, Miss Palmer, in the face of all the evidence, wouldn't you say that it's rather difficult for me to accept his innocence?
But you found me in the office with a gun. That's when I went up there to get the record back.
Oh, I'll grant that the circumstance of finding you in Fairfield's office with a gun mitigates in your favor.
It proves that what I said is true about Peter not wanting to take the pills.
But it hardly explains away the $2,500 cash withdrawal from his father's account or the prescription for the pills.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, what's this I hear about my son being under arrest?
That's correct, Mr. Berwick. He's under arrest. And you are, too.
What for?
Suspicion of conspiracy to violate the National Selective Service Act.
Oh, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. Now, you release my son immediately if you know what's good for you. I won't have you intimidating me or any member of my family. I'll have J. Edgar Hoover on the phone in 5 minutes to have your job unless Peter's released and released immediately. I'm a member of...
Mr. Berwick, it's not that I'm not interested in what you're saying, but I have to answer this. Special Agent Taylor speaking. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes. Mr. Berwick, that was one of the special agents searching through Mr. Fairfield's apartment. He just played the record that Fairfield made of your conversation with him.
What record?
Mr. Fairfield made a recording of his conversation with you, Father. He made it that first day you went there.
I refuse to discuss this any further until I speak with my lawyer.
You're entitled to that privilege, Mr. Berwick.
And, Peter, don't say another thing to this man or anyone else until I tell you to.
But why shouldn't he, Mr. Berwick? He's innocent. You're the one who's guilty.
You stay out of this and leave my son alone.
Special Agent Taylor. You did? Fine. All right, wrap them both up and bring them in. Oh, Mr. Berwick.
Yes?
When you call your lawyer, tell him that he's only got one client in this case. Your son is no longer under arrest.
And why not?
Because he was telling us the truth when he said that he changed his mind and wanted to go into the Army.
Oh, I told you, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, you did, Miss Palmer, but we had to have some proof. We just got it. The special agent who called found the recording that Fairfield unintentionally made of young Berwick's first visit to his office.
Well, then I'm free.
That's right, son. You can go anytime you like.
Peter, you're not going to leave me here, are you?
Well, yes, Father. I'll write to you from wherever the Army sends me.
The bogus Dr. Fairfield was convicted for violation of the Selective Service Act and sentenced for a long term in a federal prison. Charles Berwick pleaded guilty, and even though the court was convinced he had found the error of his ways, he was given 1 year in jail. Tonight's case from the files of your FBI was closed, and closed successfully, because Special Agent Jim Taylor knew that time was an important factor. In spite of the fact that they were under the constant pressure of haste, tonight's case is an example of the speed with which your FBI can carry on a painstakingly thorough investigation. In a period of 60 hours, 2 special agents interviewed an intended victim in Chicago, the manager of the Hotel Central, the staffs of 7 real estate offices, the tellers at every bank in the city, the 3 men who had made large cash withdrawals, and also every pharmacy clerk at the 11 drugstores within a 1-mile radius of Charles Berwick's home. Of such hard work is a conviction born, a conviction which helps maintain a record that gives your FBI great pride, a record which shows that more than 97% of all people arrested by special agents, after being given a fair trial in a court of law, are found guilty of the crime as charged.
In just a moment, we will tell you about next week's exciting case from the files of your FBI. Now, one last word about business insurance. The reason why the Equitable Society emphasizes this type of insurance is very simple. The brains and experience responsible for the success of a business enterprise have a cash value and should therefore be protected by insurance like any other valuable asset. Equitable Society representatives have worked out plans for all types of business, from progressive corner stores and successful law partnerships to large organizations with thousands on their payrolls. Plan now to enlist the invaluable help that is yours for the asking from a business insurance specialist of the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States.
Next week, we will dramatize another case from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The dramatic account of a manhunt that spanned 2 continents. Its subject, illegal entry. Its title, 2 Tickets to Nowhere.
The incidents used in tonight's Equitable Life Assurance Society's broadcast are adapted from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, all names used are fictitious, and any similarity thereof to the names of persons living or dead is accidental. Tonight, the music was composed and conducted by Frederick Steiner. The author was Jerry D. Lewis. Your narrator was William Woodson, and Special Agent Taylor was played by Stacey Harris. This Is Your FBI is a Jerry Devine production. This is Larry Keating speaking for the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community, and inviting you to tune in again next week at this same time when the Equitable Life Assurance Society will bring you another thrilling story from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. 2 Tickets to Nowhere on This Is Your FBI.
This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society presents This Is Your FBI. This Is Your FBI, the official broadcast from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Presented as a public service by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community. Any time in the next half hour while you're listening to this program, your telephone may ring.
Yes?
This is the Radio Checking Bureau. Is your radio turned on?
Why, yes, it is.
What program are you listening to, please?
It's This Is Your FBI. Just starting.
Do you know who sponsors that program?
Of course I do. It's the Equitable Life Assurance Society. Just this morning, my Equitable Society representative said the middle commercial would have something interesting for me to listen to. It's about the Equitable Society's fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. So, naturally, I know that This Is Your FBI is sponsored by the Equitable Society.
In about 15 minutes, I'll be back with full information about the Equitable Society's fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. Tonight's FBI file, 2 Tickets to Nowhere.
Tonight's case from the files of your FBI concerns the criminal activities of an undesirable alien. Before you hear the story behind this crime, though, the Federal Bureau of Investigation would like to make one fact perfectly clear. It does not now, nor has it ever, worked on the theory that all aliens are undesirable. That way lies ever-deepening prejudice. Aliens to this shore have that name only because they were born in another country, and not because they possess any qualities, either good or evil, which are not possessed in the same proportion by any equal number of Americans. The roster of those who have come to this nation from other shores and contributed to our greatness is a long one. There are also those who come to America and refuse to pay any heed to our laws. They would be criminals in any nation, because basically the laws of every democratic nation are very similar. This latter type of alien, these undesirable aliens, have contributed their share to our national crime wave. For like our Native American criminals, they too are capable of lying, cheating, and killing. Tonight's file opens in an exclusive cafe located in a large South American city. The head waiter is attempting to prevent a rather shabbily dressed man from entering.
My dear man, if you insist on keeping me outside the confines of this cubicle of iniquity...
But, Senor Monet, I have my order. The last time you were here, you started big fight.
My dear Raphael, if you do not immediately escort me to Mr. Ludlow's table, I shall be forced to reveal to your employers what I know about you.
Come, I shall take you.
There, that's better.
Here you are, Senor Monet.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late, Mr. Ludlow. I am George Monet.
Hello?
My reason for being detained was very amusing. You see,
Let's get down to business, huh?
Oh, very well.
How did you happen to call me? How did you know who I was?
Mr. Ludlow, I've been down here from the States now for almost 10 years. My contacts are excellent. I pick up stray bits of information about most of the new arrivals, and sometimes that information comes in handy.
A shake artist, huh?
I rarely resort to blackmail.
Why did you call me?
Well, I've been thinking about going back to the States now for quite a while. However, I don't want to make the trip unless I can go back and live like I used to. Top cabin.
You came to the wrong place to make a touch.
Sir, 3 months ago, you were shipped out of the United States as an undesirable alien.
Look, I don't want to
Mr. Ludlow, any resentment you may be feeling will dissolve completely when I tell you that we can make a deal.
What kind of deal?
You look like a man to whom the taste of revenge would be sweet. Would you like to outwit the immigration authorities and go back to the States?
It cannot be done.
Then why not?
I'm too hot for anybody to handle.
As far as I'm concerned, you're ice cold.
What's your pitch?
It's a trade secret.
Then I don't play.
Why not?
I don't want any proposition where we get on a boat, go to the coast of Florida, then we swim the last quarter of a mile. That's not for me.
Well, it's not for me either, sir. If we go back my way, we go back with passports. Legitimate passports.
It doesn't sound right.
Mr. Ludlow, I can get passports, but I've got no money. You've got money, but you can't get a passport. It seems to me we ought to get together.
What's it going to cost me?
A paltry $2,500.
I can't pay you until we get back to the States.
Well, in that case, there'll be a slight extra charge. The price for the passport payable when we arrive in the United States is $5,000.
You made a deal.
A few days later, in an FBI field office in the northeastern section of the United States, Agent Paul Auburn approaches the desk of Special Agent Jim Taylor.
Jim, I'm in line for congratulations.
Oh, now don't tell me you're a father again, Paul.
Oh, but Ethel found an apartment yesterday, and we moved in last night.
Fine. Now that you've got the housing problem off your mind, you can start thinking about something else.
Is there something else?
Oh, yes. The SAC just assigned us to work on a case together.
What kind of a case is it, Jim?
Impersonation of a federal official.
What's the story?
Well, a man named George Monet got a job with a government agency in South America as chief clerk.
Uh-huh.
He was put to work while his application was being sent to Washington for routine checking. Now, when Washington found that he was a disbarred lawyer with a criminal record, Monet was discharged.
Uh-huh.
However, before he left the office, he managed to steal some official stationery and a book of government transportation request blanks. Now, on one of the letterheads, he typed out a set of credentials identifying himself as an official of the United States government traveling on official business.
I see.
He then presented his handiwork to the Foreign Office, was granted a passport without delay, and obtained a visa to enter the United States.
Is he back in this country now?
Now, wait a minute. You haven't heard all of it yet. He not only got a passport for himself, but he also got one for a companion who also had forged credentials. That passport was made out to a John W. Smith.
And who is John W. Smith?
I have no idea, Paul, but they both landed in Miami yesterday on the Clipper.
Well, they could be a long way from Miami by now.
That I know.
Are there any leads at all?
Well, we've got Monet's description and his picture.
Got anything on Smith?
No, not a thing.
Have you got any ideas on procedure?
Yes, I've been going over the passenger list on that Clipper they came back on, and Martha Dalton, the movie star, was one of the passengers.
Oh. Well, how does that help, Jim?
Well, I think there were probably some photographers at the airport from her studio to take publicity pictures.
Well, that's logical.
So I'm going to try and get a copy of any that were taken and see if Monet and his friends show up in any of the backgrounds.
Feel to be back in the States again, Ben?
Fine.
The land of the free. That's us. Free.
Yes, that's right.
And we don't have to listen to any more of those marimba bands. Up here, when you put in a nickel, out comes Benny Goodman.
You're right.
Speaking of a nickel, our strategic position would be considerably improved if we had a little money.
Yes, I know.
The operators say how long it would take to locate your girl?
No.
It's been quite a while now since you put that call in. Ben, I trust nothing has happened to stem the tide of true love. You've been gone for 3 months, you know. And from the picture you showed me, she's rather attractive.
Look, talk about yourself for a change.
Oh, I'd be delighted to. Is there any particular phase of the subject you care to have me discuss?
You, going to be a lawyer again?
That is a decision which has been irrevocably removed from my domain. Did you ever hear of a hoodlum named Gentleman Joe Ferguson?
Yes.
I used to represent Gentleman Joe till one fateful day when, in order to get an acquittal after a messy affair in which he was involved, it became necessary for me to put a small fix in with one of the jurors. Through some quirk of fate, the fix was discovered, and I was disbarred.
Telephone's ringing. Must be my call. Hello?
Are you the party to call Miss Kitty Wayne at Evergreen 38897?
Yes, that's right.
Here's your party. Hello?
Hello, Kitty. This is Ben.
Ben. Ben, honey. How are you?
I'm fine.
When did you get back?
Oh, just a little while ago.
Well, where are you?
Florida.
When am I going to see you?
Well, that depends on you. Look, I need some money.
How much?
500.
I can get it to you.
Good, baby. Look, send it care of John W. Smith, Daytona Beach, by Western Union.
Daytona Beach, okay.
Good. Honey, have you still got those keys I left with you?
Yeah.
Good. Now, one of them is for a safe deposit box. That box has a map in it.
Map of what?
The location of some money that me and Steve buried. Baby, if we dig that up, we're going to be fixed fine.
All I care about is that you're advantages.
Well, I met somebody down there who worked an angle. We both came back together.
Is he coming north with you?
He thinks he is. But I already made arrangements to have him taken care of.
Jim, are those the pictures of Martha Dalton?
That's right, Paul. Look at the background of this picture through this glass here.
Well, that's Monet, all right.
Now, take a look at that man standing beside Monet. There.
That face looks familiar to me.
Now, you may have seen it before on a wanted notice. The last time he was arrested, he was using the name of Ben Ludlow.
Ben Ludlow?
Well, he was deported, but obviously it didn't stick.
Well, I was stationed on the West Coast when he was picked up. What was the charge?
He and a friend of his named Benson held up a bank messenger. They got over $60,000.
Well, what happened to the money?
We never found any of it.
What happened to Benson?
He carried the gun. He's still in prison.
Has an alarm gone out on Ludlow yet?
Yes, I've already called police headquarters, and the alarm went out on Monet, too.
How long ago was that, Jim?
About an hour ago. Paul, why don't you go over to Ludlow's old address, and I'll go to headquarters. If neither of us gets anything tonight, we'll start again first thing in the morning.
Ben, it's wonderful having you back.
How do you think I feel, huh?
Oh, this was just like old times. Being on the town, closing all the saloons.
Yeah. Got your key?
Oh, sure. Here you are.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Welcome home.
Who are you?
Well, let me introduce myself. My name is George Monet.
He's the one who got me back into the country.
But I thought you...
Did you think I was dead, Miss Wayne?
Well,
Perhaps I'd better explain. Ben hired some trench and hoodlums in Florida to take care of me, but by some coincidence, they both happened to be former clients of mine.
How did you get in here?
Oh, that was a simple matter. I told the superintendent that it was Miss Wayne's birthday and that I wanted to surprise her. Happy birthday, Kitty.
I never told your name.
Dear Ben, do you remember my going to the phone booth to call a friend after you spoke to her last night from the saloon in Daytona Beach?
Yeah.
I called the long-distance operator, and she told me whom you had called.
Smart boy.
Well, I make it a practice always to do the best I can.
Well, what do you want?
He wants $5,000 for getting me that passport.
Oh, no, Ben, you're wrong.
What?
When I returned to the scene of some of my former triumphs, I renewed acquaintances with some of my other ex-clients. They told me that you and your former partner had a lot of money put away somewhere.
What about it?
I want 50% of it.
You want 50?
Before you answer, let me tell you something. I have a half a dozen letters planted in different places. And if I don't maintain my present state of good health for the next 48 hours, the people who find those letters will know what happened to me.
You think of everything, don't you?
My legal training.
Ben, what are we going to do?
Well, there's really only one thing he can do. Ben, shake hands with your new partner.
We will return in just a moment to tonight's exciting case from the files of your FBI. Now, listen. As the next 60 seconds tick away, several hundred American parents will make a decision that will vitally affect the whole future happiness and security of their families.
What is that decision, Mr. Keating?
During the next minute, they will hear about the Equitable Society's famous fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. We know from experience that every time we describe this chart, hundreds, sometimes thousands of fathers and mothers say to themselves,
that fact-finding chart is just what we need. Let's ask our equitable representative for one right now.
It brings to light eye-opening facts that show you just what income your family would need to be well-fed, well-housed, and well-clothed if you were no longer there to support them.
That's something I never figured out.
You'll have the answer in 5 minutes with this Equitable Society chart, because you're guided at every step by easy-to-understand pictures. For the first time, you know just what income your family will need to keep together during the critical years until your youngest child finishes high school.
Mr. Keating, you've sold me on the idea of getting one of those charts. What do they cost?
Not 1 cent. Phone your Equitable Society representative tomorrow to bring you a fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. Or send a postcard, care of this ABC station, to the Equitable Life Assurance Society. your request will be forwarded to the nearest equitable representative. The more you love your family, the more gratified you will be that you decided to get the fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers prepared for you by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. And now back to the FBI file, 2 Tickets to Nowhere.
The people in tonight's case from the files of your FBI, the undesirable alien, the disbarred lawyer, the young girl who acted as their accomplice, they may seem to you like unusual characters, people with whom you feel you are unlikely to come into contact during your everyday life. And yet, if that is what you think, then you are deluding yourself. Because no matter how far you regard yourselves as being from the environs of crime, you are actually in its midst. The victims of no more than 10% of the 1.5 million major crimes committed in this country in the past year were other criminals. In the remaining 90%, the victims were decent citizens. Decent citizens who probably thought that they were far from crime. Decent citizens like you. Tonight's file continues at the local FBI field office.
Well, Jim, it's a bright new day. I hope we get a bright new clue on Monet and Ludlow.
I could sure use one, Paul. I stopped by police headquarters. They still hadn't gotten anything.
I checked yesterday at Ludlow's old address. The landlady said that he hadn't been near the place. Of course, she may be protecting him.
No, I don't think so. When he was arrested last time, she helped us by calling and letting us know when he arrived home.
Oh?
Oh, I found out one thing. They both are definitely here in town.
How do you know, Jim?
Well, I took the pictures out to the airport and showed them to the porters out there.
Oh. Which plane did they come in on?
They each came in on a different flight. That's what makes my suspicion even stronger, that Ludlow had the money he and Benson stole put away somewhere up here.
I think you're right.
Hey, Paul. Paul, Benson knows where that money is. I'm going up to prison and interview him. I think we have enough to make him talk.
Miss Swain, as an ex-attorney, I wouldn't advise driving over 50.
I don't want any of your advice.
Mind if I speak to you, Ben?
Go ahead.
I assume you know what will automatically happen to the two of us if your girlfriend should be stopped for speeding?
That's right. Get it, slow down.
Okay.
Temper's futed. The whole order changes.
What does that mean?
Just thinking to myself. People used to pay a lot of money for my advice. Now I find it difficult to give away.
Ben, shouldn't the place be right near here?
Yeah. It isn't very far.
You know, I think I should take my share of those subterranean pieces of 8 and go to Paris. I've always understood that a man of culture is welcome there, especially if in addition he also happens to possess large banknotes.
Get it, slow down here.
Okay.
All right, now stop.
Have we arrived at the pot of gold?
Yeah. Come on, get your shovel. Let's start digging.
Paul, you want to go on a treasure hunt?
Well, sure, Jim. What's the treasure?
$51,000.
Wow. Count me in.
I was up to see Benson in prison. He drew this map for me.
Oh?
Yeah. This is where he and Ludlow buried their money just before their arrest. He drew this from memory, so some of the details may only be approximate, but I think we ought to be able to find it.
Well, what made him tell you where it was?
Well, I told him that Ludlow was back in this country, that he returned here to town. I convinced him that the only reason that he would have come back up here was to get that money. He finally agreed that Ludlow must be double-crossing him, and he drew the map.
Good. And where is this place?
It's about 20 miles north of here on Highway 1.
You suppose Ludlow and Monet are on their way up there now?
I don't know, but if they are, I think they'll find a reception committee waiting for them.
What do you mean?
I called the local police up there and told them to be on the lookout. Oh, I also told them that we'd give them a hand, so come on, Paul, let's get up there.
Found it yet?
No. I think you can count on our stopping work when one of us finds the satchel of money.
Well, what's taking so long?
For one thing, That map you're holding hardly looks like one that was made by Rand McNally. We have thus far dug a ditch somewhat resembling the Maginot Line without finding anything.
Oh, we'll find it.
I certainly trust so. I hate to think that I did all this work for nothing.
You're both far away from where the X is on the map.
I got it.
Honest, Ben?
Ben, would you mind if I feasted my eyes on it?
Let me see, too.
There it is. 51,000.
I never saw a more beautiful picture. Well, I am now affluent enough to live for a
Where?
while at a... What is it?
Look, up there on the hill. There's a man standing there. Looks like a cop.
Let's get back in the car.
Okay.
You down there! Stay where you are! Wait a minute! Wait for me!
Oh, no. This is where we break the partnership. Honey, let's get out of here.
And I chased the car, Mr. Taylor, but they got away.
Oh, I understand perfectly, Sergeant. Don't take it so hard. They get away from everybody once in a while.
I fired 5 shots at them, but I didn't hit with any one of them.
Well, wood's pretty heavy up through here. That road curves a lot. You can't very well shoot around trees.
After I gave up chasing them, I came back here and found that other man.
Oh, that's George Monet.
Oh. Ludlow wasn't driving the car.
Oh?
There was a girl with him.
Sergeant, you didn't get close enough to get the license number of the car, did you?
No, I didn't. It was just starting to get dark when they drove away from there. And the girl didn't have her lights on.
I see.
I don't even know what kind of a car it is. All I know is that it's a sedan.
Now, cutting through these woods, you say there's no other road they could get to except Highway 56, is that right?
Unless they turn around and come back past here.
I don't think it's very likely they'll do that.
The minute I lost them, I called our 2 patrol cars and had them set up a roadblock on either end of the woods. So we should be hearing from one of those cars pretty soon.
That's swell.
If they decide to hole up in the woods, we shouldn't have too much trouble going in and getting them.
Well, that may take more manpower than we have available, Sergeant. I just hope it doesn't. Yeah, what is it, Paul?
I just took a call that came in on the 2-way for the sergeant here.
Oh? Was it from one of the patrol cars?
Yes, they reported that a car with its lights out, going about 80 miles an hour and headed north on Route 56, just sideswiped the patrol car and broke through the roadblock.
Paul, I'm glad the sergeant knew about this shortcut to Route 56. We saved quite a bit of time coming this way.
Yeah, but I wish we knew who that girl is with Ludlow, or even what the car they're in looks like.
Here's the crossroads.
Well, Ludlow could have gone either way from here, Jim.
Paul, look down there. See that car? Yeah. Look at it go. It must be Ludlow. Well, let's see if we can catch him.
Jim, according to the map, there's a rise in the road just ahead.
Yeah, I see it.
I think we're gaining on them.
We should be at this speed. Here's the top of the hill.
Jim, they're nowhere to be seen.
Hey, wait a minute. That drive-in theater we just passed. That's where they must be. Let's go back and see.
What's the deal here, Jim?
People sit in their cars and watch the movie. The attendant says he didn't see which lane that last car went into.
Well, there must be a couple of 100 cars inside this place.
Yeah, and the show breaks in 3 minutes. They'll all be streaming out of here then. Come on, Paul, let's start looking.
Doctor, you don't understand.
Understanding is my business,
Oh.
young lady.
I've seen this.
What?
I've seen this picture.
Now, That lean means back you on the should couch leave? and
No, I like it.
talk about
I
anything
wanna
that
see it
comes
again.
into your
That's fine.
mind.
Very well.
What are you thinking?
I hope we duck them.
What?
I said I hope we duck those
I
cops.
remember when I was a little girl. I had pigtails, and there was a boy on our block named Tommy Dillon who used to carry my books to school.
Go on. Keep talking.
I don't remember much about the years I went to high school.
Oh, that's because you don't want to remember.
Is this thing over soon?
Let's see. Oh, I know she and the doctor get married.
But
they
when?
Were horrible. I remember.
Poor darling. Poor darling.
They've gone into a clinch. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, it's coming to a finish. I love you, Kurt.
Olivia.
Hey,
What?
2 guys out there walking around.
Well, they're not wearing uniforms.
We can't take any chances. Put your arms around me quick.
What for?
We've got to look like everybody else that's parked here. Hey, what is this?
Put your hands up and step out of there.
Now, look, me and my
You
car...
heard me, Ludlow. Now move. All right, miss, you too.
I got nothing to do with him. We just had a date to see the picture.
We're making it a double feature. Now, come on.
George Monet was tried and sentenced to a 10-year term in a federal prison. Ben Ludlow also received a 10-year sentence and deportation. His girlfriend was turned over to state authorities. Tonight's case from the files of your FBI was closed successfully because Special Agent Taylor remembered that the car which had been sideswiped on Route 56 was a police car and was painted white. In examining the cars at the drive-in theater, he looked for one that had a fresh dent and some particles of white paint in the scratches. That combination, the ability to assimilate facts and later to make application of them in the solution of any crime, is part of the training which every special agent receives before he graduates from the FBI Academy. Each of those special agents has a big job. This is a nation that at the last census had 140 million people in it. At the present time, there are fewer than 4,000 FBI special agents, a ratio of one special agent for every 35,000 Americans. For that numerical reason alone, the training mentioned above is an essential part of every special agent's equipment. Equipment he is given in order that he may better help protect the property and lives of you, the American people.
In just a moment, we will tell you about next week's case from the files of your FBI. But now, listen. Don't forget, the seconds are ticking away. Time is speeding by. So don't delay. Get that fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers right away. Then you can make sure that no matter what happens to you, your children will eat good food, live in a comfortable home, wear clothes they're not ashamed of, get an honest-to-goodness start in life. Phone your Equitable Society representative soon. Or send a postcard to the Equitable Society, care of this ABC station. Your request will be forwarded to the nearest representative of the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States.
Next week, we will dramatize another case from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. An exciting account of crime on the high seas. Its subject, grand larceny. Its title, Voyage of Terror.
The incidents used in tonight's Equitable Life Assurance Society's broadcast are adapted from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, all names used are fictitious, and any similarity thereof to the names of persons living or dead is accidental. Tonight, the music was composed and conducted by Frederick Steiner. The author was Jerry D. Lewis. Your narrator was William Woodson, and Special Agent Taylor was played by Stacey Harris. This Is Your FBI is a Jerry Devine production. This is Larry Keating speaking for the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community, and inviting you to tune in again next week at the same time when the Equitable Life Assurance Society will bring you another thrilling story from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Voyage of Terror on This Is Your FBI.
This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.